Welcome back to every naval battle in history. With the Punic Wars out of the way, along with most of the Carthaginian civilisation, the Roman Republic had a long period without being challenged at sea in the Mediterranean. While the Ptolemies remained a potential rival in Egypt, the Greek ruling class there was mostly occupied in keeping the Egyptians underfoot. And then, around 70 years after Carthage's destruction, the Romans found themselves fighting a naval war against a new enemy, the Kingdom of Pontus. We'll get to Pontus in a second, but I just want to note that 70 years without conflict is not good for a navy. No one in service has any recollection of the hard-won lessons of the last war, and given that it's mostly a young man's game, hardly anyone will recall even having met a veteran of real conflict after that much time. Also, because rowers are expensive folk to keep around on a payroll, it's hard to argue for the continued expense of the whole organisation in peacetime. In the Roman system, this is a particular problem. Service brought citizenship and land, and keeping a bunch of blokes around sunning themselves on sailboats while there's hard fighting to be done on land is not a pleasant option. So, aside from some anti-piracy patrolling and even rarer anti-piracy battles, and some little talked about and swiftly glossed over movement between the ranks of the navy and the pirates, it's a long time between drinks. Pontus as a kingdom had been born in 281 BCE during the Wars of the Diadochi, Alexander's successors. Positioned on the relative backwater of the southeast of the Black Sea, its continued existence was an annoyance to every warlord in the region who fancied themselves king of kings, but not enough of an annoyance to warrant the effort of crushing it. The kings of Pontus managed the unusual trick of fusing together the cultures of Greece, Persia, and the native Anatolians who had watched the great armies marching past for generations. Around 120 BCE, Mithridates VI Eupator, aka the Great, aka the Poison King, because he did love to do some poisoning, and he was constantly microdosing on poisons to build immunity to stop other people poisoning him, came to power, claiming descent from both Cyrus the Great of Persia, as well as Antipater, Antigonus, and Seleucus, which is quite the sweep of the Diadochi. He must have thought long and hard about adding Alexander himself to the set, but it would seem that would have been a bit too much. Going for a mixed Persian-Greek lineage was an interesting move that makes a lot of sense in this very specific context. The people of Anatolia were by then well used to the mix of Greek and Persian influence, and the rise of Roman power in the region, not to mention the corrupt and rapacious Roman tax collectors, must have been disturbing, and creating a sense of shared identity was a key to resisting them. Between 88 BCE and 63 BCE, there were 3 Mithridatic Wars between Rome and Pontus. These were kicked off by an event called the Asiatic Vespers, whereby almost every single Roman in Asia Minor was murdered in an act of genocide, accounting for around 80,000 deaths according to Appian and many more according to Plutarch. It would be a big deal today, and it was certainly a huge deal in 88 BCE. While the province of Asia, formerly the Kingdom of Pergamon, was swiftly flipped to the Pontus column, the fleeing Roman refugees found shelter in the port of Rome's old friend, Rhodes. Aside from being a stepping stone for Sulla's rise to bloody dictator of Rome, the first 2 Mithridatic Wars were indecisive, although Rome was not ready to quit when it came to avenging the mass slaughter of Romans in the Vespers. But it's worth noting that Mithridates had timed the conflict very well. Rome was embroiled in a series of internal wars. In particular, Quintus Sertorius all but set up a rival Roman state in Spain and proved fiendishly difficult to defeat in the field, while running his own foreign policy as an alternative Roman polity. Eventually, the problem he represented was solved by assassination. So the Third War rolled around, and the consul Marcus Aurelius Cotta took a fleet to the Bosphorus, which is always a strong opening move. He established his headquarters in Chalcedon, which is right across the strait from Byzantium. You know the drill, Istanbul, Constantinople. Things went extremely badly for the Romans. Having deployed their army outside the city walls, they were routed and cut down as they tried to flee inside the city, the gates forming a choke point for slaughter. The Pontic fleet then cut the bronze chain blocking the harbour entrance and sailed in, burning 4 ships and capturing the other 60 to tow them away. It is worth noting that the wily Quintus Sertorius had sent one Marcus Marius to advise the Pontic forces, and the spectacular success in this battle almost certainly had a bit to do with Roman advice on how to beat Romans. Despite having slaughtered a great many Romans, encircled the city, and looted the harbour, the Pontic forces had to satisfy themselves with a siege. A quite complete disaster at sea for the Romans, and the stage set for a bloody conflict to last until 63 BCE. Strap in, folks, we've got lots more to cover as we take on every naval battle in history. Smash those like and subscribe buttons, ring that bell, you don't want to get left behind.